Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome student in Progressive Model School. Class 6 subject Mathematics. In this video we shall cover unit number 11 Parameter and Area. Topic Border area of a rectangle. This video is the part number 5 of the same chapter. Parameter and area. Parameter, as we discussed above, the perimeter is the distance around the outside the object, and the area is the amount of space inside the perimeter. That is the area that a thing occupied. And the perimeter is the outer body of the shape. Now start our topic border area of a rectangle. That is topic number 11.1 and part number 3. You can see in the picture there is a playground, that is the inner rectangle, and the road is made all around of it. The inner rectangle, the area of the inner portion without the road, and the outer rectangle that shows the area of the portion with the road. And the arrow in the figure shows the width of the road. When we find out the border area of a rectangle, we subtract the area of outer rectangle minus the area of inner rectangle. That is the area including the width and the area excluding the width. When we subtract these values, we get the area of the border. The area of road in the figure above. By subtracting area of a large rectangle minus the area of a small rectangle, we can also write it as area of a road is equals to area of a large rectangle minus area of a small rectangle, or area is equals to area of a large rectangle means outer length multiplied by outer breadth. As we discussed in our previous video, the formula of area is length into breadth. So the area of a large rectangle or the outer rectangle is equals to the outer length and the outer breadth minus area of a small rectangle is equals to the inner length into inner breadth. We find out the area of a road. As you know that the area of a rectangle is equals to length into breadth, in the figure above we can also observe if we have length and breadth of one rectangle and also given width of the road or the border around the rectangle or the playground, then we calculate the length and breadth from this formula. Same in the case of the small rectangle. When we find out the length of a large rectangle, which is equals to the length of small rectangle plus 2 times of the width of the road. Similarly, breadth of the large rectangle is equals to the breadth of small rectangle plus 2 times of the width of the road. Hence, length of the small rectangle is equals to the length of large rectangle by subtracting 2 times of the width of the road. And the breadth of small rectangle is equals to the breadth of large rectangle by subtracting 2 times of the width of the road. Now we solve some example. A children park is 35 meter wide and 60 meter long and has a road of 2.5 meter width on its outer side. Find the cost of repairing the road at the rate of rupees 80 per meter square. Here there is a children park whose width is 35 meter and length is 60 meter, and the width of the road that is around the park is 2.5 meter. We find out the cost of repairing the road at the rate of rupees 80 per meter square. Given data is length of the park, that is 60 meter, breadth of the park, that is 35 meter. These two values is the inner rectangular, and the width of the road, that is the border of the road, border width of the road is 2.5 meter. We find out the area of the road first, and then we find out the cost of repairing it. We draw the rectangle as this is the, and this is its inner length, that is 60 meter, and inner breadth, that is 35 meter. And the arrow shows the width of the road, that is 2.5 meter on both sides. We find out the outer length and outer breadth. So we find out the outer area of the rectangle. Firstly, we find out the area of the park by the given value, length and to breadth. Area of a children park is equals to inner length multiplied by inner breadth. This area is excluding the road, so when we put these value into the length and breadth, that is 60 meter into 35 meter, we get 2100 meter per square. Now the area of a children park including the road, that is the outer rectangle, we can find out by the outer length into outer breadth. But here we don't know about the outer length and the outer breadth. So we firstly find out the outer length and the inner length. Outer length is equals to the inner length plus twice of the width of the road. The road is 2.5 meter. When we multiply 2 times, we get 5 meter. When we add 5 meter into 60 meter, we get 65 meter. That is the outer length of the road, of the rectangle, that is large rectangle. Now find out the outer breadth, that is the breadth of the large rectangle. Formula is inner breadth plus twice of the width of the road. Twice of the width of the road means we multiply 2 by the value of the width, that is 2.5 meter. When we multiply 2 into 2.5 meter, we get 5 meter. When we add 35 plus 5, we get 40 meter. That is the outer breadth. The outer length is 65 and the outer breadth is 40 meter. Now we find the area of the children park including the road, that is the area of the outer rectangle or the large rectangle. Putting the value into length into breadth, we get 65 meter multiplied by 40 meter is equals to the 2600 meter square. That is the area of the large rectangle. Now calculate the area of the road area of the road is equals to, by subtracting the area of the large rectangle minus the area of an inner rectangle. The area of a large rectangle, that is 2600, minus the area of a small rectangle, that is 2100, we get 500 meters square, that is the area of the road. Now the cost of repairing the road is, when the cost of repairing 1 meter square is given in the question rupees 80, we find out the cost of repairing the whole area of the road, that is 500 meters square. We multiply rupees 80 into the area of the road, that is 500 meters square. We get 40,000 is the cost of repairing the whole road. Now solve some question of exercise 11.2. Let's start with our first question. Find the area of the border shaded portion from the following figure. In the figure, there is a large rectangle and the small rectangle, that is the inner rectangle, whose length is 20 meter and whose breadth is 10 meter, and the shaded portion width is 2 meter. We find out the area of the large rectangle and the area of the small rectangle, then we find out the area of the border. Now put this value into the solution. Length of the inner rectangle is 20 meter. Breadth of the inner rectangle is 10 meter. We find out the length and breadth of the large rectangle, that is the outer rectangle, which is equals to the length of the outer rectangle is equals to the length of the inner rectangle, that is 20 meter, plus twice of the width of the border. So we multiply 2 into 2, we get 4. When we add 20 plus 4, we get the length of the outer rectangle, that is 24 meter. Now we find out the breadth of the outer rectangle. Breadth of the outer rectangle is equals to the breadth of the inner rectangle, that is 10 meter, plus twice of the width of the border. So 2 multiplied by 2 is equals to the 4. When we add 4 into 10, we get 40 meter, that is the breadth of the outer rectangle. Now we find out both the area of rectangle, inner and outer. Area of inner rectangle is equals to length into breadth of the inner rectangle. Inner rectangular is length of the inner rectangle is 20 meter and inner breadth is 10. Then when we multiply 20 multiplied by 10, we get 200 meter per square. Now we find out the area of a outer rectangle, which is equals to the outer length into outer breadth. When we multiply 24 into 14, we get 336 meters square. After we finding out the area of the inner rectangle and the area of the outer rectangle, now we find out the area of the border or the area of the shaded portion. Area of the border or area of the shaded portion is equals to, by subtracting the area of the outer rectangle and the area of the inner rectangle. Putting the value of the area of outer rectangle, which is equals to the 336 meters square, minus the area of the inner rectangle, which is equals to the 200 meters square, when we subtract these value, we get 136 meters square. Now we can solve question number 2 of the same exercise. Find the area of the following border. Inner length is 100 meter, inner breadth is 50 meter, width of the border is 2 meter. This question is same as we done in question number 1. In length of the inner rectangle is given, that is the 100 meter, and breadth of the inner rectangle is equals to the 50 meter. Now we find out the length of the outer rectangle, which is equals to the length of the inner rectangle plus twice of the width. When we put this value in the length of the outer rectangle, we get 100 plus 2 into 2, which is equals to the 4. When we add 100 plus 4, we get 104 meter, the length of the outer rectangle. Breadth of the outer rectangle is equals to 50, which is the inner rectangular breadth, plus twice of the border, that is 2 into 2, which is equals to the 4. When we add 50 plus 4, we get 54 meter. Now find out the area of the inner rectangle, which is equals to the inner length into inner breadth. Putting the value in the formula, 100 multiplied by 50, we get 5000 meters square. Area of the outer rectangle, which is equals to the outer length into outer breadth. Outer length value is 104 and outer breadth is 54. When we multiply these values, we get 5660 meters square. Now find out the area of the border. Area of the border is equals to area of the outer rectangle subtract the area of the inner rectangle. Putting the values, area of the outer rectangle is 5660 meters square and the area of the inner rectangle 5000 meters square. When we subtract these values, we get 660 meters square. Now solve the question number 3. Find the area of a 4 meter wide running track constructed inside of the park, when the length and the breadth of the park are 150 meter and 80 meter respectively. 4 meter wide running track, its mean width of the running track, which is around the park, is 4 meter and the length of the park is 150 meter and the breadth of the park is 80 meter. This is the rectangular shaped park whose length is 150 meter and breadth is 80 meter, and the running track which is around the park is width of the running track is 4 meter. Now solve this question. Firstly, we put the given values: length of the park 150 meter, breadth of the park 80 meter, width of the running track is 4 meter. Find out the length of the park and breadth of the park excluding the track, that is the inner rectangular area. Length of the park is 150. We subtract twice of the width, because we find out the length of the inner park, so we subtract 2 into 4. 2 into 4 is equals to 8. When we subtract 150 minus 8, we get 142 meter. Breadth of the park is equals to 80 minus twice of the width. 2 into 4 is equals to 8. 80 minus 8 is equals to 72 meter, breadth of the inner rectangle. Now find out the area of the park of the large rectangle or the outer rectangle by multiplying outer length into outer breadth. We get 150 multiplied by 80, 12,000 meters square. This is the area of the park including the track. Now find out the area of the park excluding the track or the area of the inner park. Inner length into inner breadth. Putting the values 142, which is the inner length, multiplied by inner breadth, which is 72. By multiplying these values, we get 10,224 meters square, the area of the park excluding the track. Now find out the area of the track by subtracting the area of the park including the track. In other words, the area of the outer rectangle minus the area of the park excluding the track, that is the inner rectangle. Putting the values of the area of the outer park is 12,000 meters square minus area of the park excluding the track, that is the inner area of the inner park, that is 10,224 meters square. When we subtract these values, we get 1,776 meters square. Our next question is question number 5, mentioned as question number 6, which is wrong here. This is the question number 5. A 3-meter wide road is all around on the outside of a 125-meter long and 60-meter wide garden. Find the cost of repairing the road at the rate of rupees 150 per meter square. The width of the road is 3 meters and the road is all around the garden, and the garden's length is 125 meter and breadth is 60 meter. The cost of repairing the road at the rate of rupees 150 per meter square. Now firstly find out the area of the outer rectangle, that is the area of the garden including the road, and then we find out the cost of repairing the road. Length of the garden is 125 meter, breadth of the garden is 60 meter, width of the road equals to 3 meter. Firstly find out the length of the garden including the road, that is the length of the outer rectangle. So the length of the outer rectangle is equals to the length of the inner rectangle, which is 125 plus twice of the width of the road, that is 2 multiplied by 3 is equals to the 6. When we add 6 into 125, we get 131 meter, which is the length of the garden including the road, or the outer rectangular length. Breadth of the garden is 60, which is the inner breadth of the rectangle, plus twice of the width of the road. 2 multiplied by 3 we get 6. When we add 60 plus 6, we get 66 meter, which is the breadth of the outer rectangle or the breadth of the garden including the road. Now find out the area of both rectangle. Firstly we find out the area of the garden or the area of the inner rectangle, which is equals to the outer length into outer breadth. This is the area including the road or the area of the outer rectangle. When we put the value of outer length, which is 131, multiplied by 66, we get 8646 meter square. Area of the garden is equals to inner length into inner breadth excluding the road. Putting the values in the formula, 125 multiplied by 60 is equals to 7,500 meter per square. This is the area of the inner rectangle. Now we find out the area of the road by subtracting the area of the garden including the road minus the area of the garden excluding the road. The area of the garden including the road is 8646 meter minus the area of the garden excluding the road is 7500 meter square. We get 1146 meter square, the area of the road. Now find out the cost of repairing the road. Cost of repairing the road of 1 meter square is 150. When we find out the cost of repairing the whole area of the road, that is the area is 1146 meter square, we multiply 50 by the whole area of the road. We get 70,1,900 rupees. Hope you understand the concept of finding the border area of the rectangle. Do like and subscribe for more video. Thanks for watching.